What's happening, friends? Trumpeter Bobby Spellman here. And in last week's episode, I covered the age-old question, how much does trumpet equipment really matter? In this week's episode, I wanted to cover a similar subject, the question of, will the right mouthpiece increase my range? So we're going to do a couple of experiments, check some things out, and get down to the bottom of the question at hand on this episode of Trumpet with Bob. All right, gang, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a barely scientific experiment today in which I compare 4 different mouthpieces. I've been playing a little bit today. I'm feeling okay. It's a regular day for me as a trumpet player, and I'm going to play chromatically up from, let's say, middle C up as high as I can go. I'm going to start with the biggest, deepest mouthpiece that I have, and I will go down the list of 4 mouthpieces, increasingly reducing the size of the mouthpiece and the depth of the cup, and we're going to see if the changing of the mouthpiece will increase my range. So without further ado, we're going to start with my Monet Prana B5 mouthpiece. This guy is a pretty deep V-cup looking thing. Check out how deep this, look at this guy. That's a pretty big mouthpiece, all right? It's not as big as a 1 or any kind of thing like that. There are certainly bigger mouthpieces, but I don't own them. So we're going to start with this, and we're going to see how it goes. All right, so that's getting me up to about an F sharp above the staff, and that's with the Monet B5. And we're going to switch this up, see if I get different results with my trusty Austin Custom Brass Custom Reserve TA1+. And that's going to sound like this. All right, I made it up to a G there. Not a substantial difference, but not too much of a difference in terms of the size of the mouthpiece either. Now let's see what happens if I switch over to this. This is my regular mouthpiece that I go with if I've got to play high notes for a long time. This is a little bit shallower than my regular TA1 mouthpiece, and this is the TAL. It's the same thing. It's the Austin Custom Brass Custom Reserve TAL Plus. That's a little bit of a shallower cup there. It's hard to tell, but you can take my word for it. You can look it up, and that's going to sound a little something like this. Once again, topping out right around that G. Not too much of an impact on how high I'm able to play. It does change the way that it feels to play those high notes, and that will be a consideration we'll get to in a moment. But so far has not changed my range. Now we're going to do one more. This is a Yamaha Bobby Shoe lead mouthpiece. This looks like a little bit like this. This is the smallest and shallowest mouthpiece that I have in my collection. And that's going to sound a little something like this. Once again, there I stand, topping out right around that G. And that has shifted from the big old Monet B5 all the way down to this little Yamaha Bobby Shoe. So what do you notice? What I notice is that the mouthpiece itself has not made a substantial impact at all on my range. I'm not getting much higher notes out of the smaller mouthpieces. It does change the tone quite a bit, but the range itself, my range itself, is based almost entirely, I would say 99.9% on the ability that I have to be able to create those notes under whatever circumstance. Now, that being said, I will not discount the importance of the mouthpiece that you're using and the equipment that you're using on the ability to comfortably play in the upper register for long periods of time. I will admit that while I very much prefer and enjoy the tone that I get out of my trumpet when I'm playing my regular old TA1+, it does pose a little bit more of a challenge if I'm going to be playing high notes for a long time, as I would if I were playing in what we would call in Boston a general business band, or in New York a club date band. You might know it as a wedding band or an events band, things of that nature. If I've got to be playing Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes for hours on end, you bet I'm going to be playing a slightly shallower mouthpiece. Now, if it doesn't increase my range, why does it matter if I play a shallower mouthpiece? And the answer to that is that it's going to take a little bit of the weight off of the feeling of playing for that amount of time, and it's going to make it a little bit easier to play those notes. So a shallower mouthpiece may make it a little bit easier to play the notes, but it's not going to greatly improve your range. Your range is a product of the time that you've put in and your ability to control the instrument itself. So if you're out there trying to buy tiny mouthpieces to try to get some screaming high notes, I think you're going to have a hard time. That being said, if you want to try to make your life a little bit easier when you are playing those high notes for long periods of time, you may be best off trying to find a slightly smaller or shallower mouthpiece. I'll make one more addition to this, a little caveat in my discussion of this, is that I have had students who have started off on mouthpieces that are way too big for them to play. Now, there's sort of an idea in trumpet world that you should play the biggest mouthpiece that you possibly can, and there may be some value to playing a large mouthpiece if you're playing certain styles of music, certainly orchestral, classical music, things of that nature. You may want the biggest mouthpiece that you can play, or it just may be very comfortable for you. Each individual person is built differently, and if you're the kind of person that feels more comfortable playing a big giant mouthpiece, a big diameter, that may be what's right for you. So don't let me discourage you from that. But at times, people will end up playing a mouthpiece that's a little bit too big for their faces just because they're trying to get a bigger sound. And in doing that, that can sometimes make it a little bit more difficult to try to reach into the upper register. I've had students who have switched to a mouthpiece that was more appropriate to the size of their faces and the structure of their jaws and everything else involved in playing the trumpet, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit easier to play in the upper register. But that being said, once again, if this very unscientific, borderline anecdotal experiment can show us anything, it's that your actual range may not improve with a smaller mouthpiece, but it may make it a little bit easier to play. And that's my conclusion. Go out there and practice. Get the high notes yourself, gang. There's no secrets. There's no shortcuts in this. All right? You gotta do the work. It's a long and winding, crazy road, but as you go, the pleasure of playing music with other people is a reward unto itself. All right, gang, I hope that helps in your quest for musical excellence. If you like this video, you can give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more trumpet videos and more videos on improvisation, jazz, and various other things going forward. Thanks so much for checking out this video, and I will see you on the next one. See ya. Trumpet with Bob. All right, friends, thanks so much for checking out this video. I hope it helped in your understanding of the musical world and in your pursuit of the majesty of musical self-expression. If you like this video, you can let us know by giving it a like, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more musical education videos going forward. You can also follow me on Instagram @BobSpellman for some more musical fun. The Ridgewood School of Music is now accepting new students online as well as in person in the Brooklyn, Queens, and greater New York City area. You can find us on our website at www.ridgewoodschoolofmusic.com, or you can send us an email at ridgewoodschoolofmusic@gmail.com. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can, try to set you up with a great teacher for the kinds of music that you're looking to study. All right, gang, well, thanks again, and until next time, happy practicing.